Hello and welcome to this introduction to business video series. The aim of this series is to give the listener a basic idea of what a business is and its objectives. Furthermore, we will try to discuss as less as possible about the theories and models that could be applied to the company. That is because we want to give the person who is listening an idea, a general idea, let's say a basic one, of what a business is and does. So throughout this video series, we will be discussing about what a business is, what is a want, what is a need, what is a product, characteristics of a business, and so on. So without further ado, we can tackle the first topic. So what is a business? A business can be described as an organization or enterprising entity engaged in commercial, industrial, or professional activities. Furthermore, it is also possible to say that the business is organized, it's an organized effort by individuals to produce goods and services to sell to the market. Now, we can give an example to what we have just said. For example, let's say we buy a washing machine. This is to be considered as a product, let's say a good. However, it is very likely that the same company from which we bought the washing machine in the first place will also offer some free services in case the machine breaks. So let's say the warranty to a certain extent. Or let's say another example. We could also buy a new car, and from the company from where we bought the car, they will also give us a certain amount of free services. Now, on the other hand, uh, there are companies that provide only goods and only services. For example, companies that produce food stuff, for example, they produce only a good, not a service. On the other hand, we have also companies that produce services and no products. For example, a taxi company or a shipping one. These types of companies do not provide a product, for example, the car or the ship, but instead they provide a service. That means taking the customer from point A to point B or allowing him to see certain parts of the world. For that matter, even a aeroplane company. As a consequence of that, we can also come to the point that companies can be divided into for-profit entities and non-profit organizations. So going a bit more in detail regarding this two differentiation, we can say that a profit organization exists primarily to generate a profit. That is to make money, So for example, let's say we buy a charger for, let's say, $5, and then we resell it at $10. So gross the gross profit will be $5. This is a very basic and simple way to define a profit, like the positive margin between what you buy and what you sell. But on the other hand, we also have entities that are non-profit organizations. These types of organizations are like the Red Cross, religious organizations, clubs, and so on. So in that case, the company itself does not pursue a profit, but instead they pursue like a more collective cause. For example, a foundation would, with the object to reduce child hunger, will uh, will only move forward through the donations that it gets. And if certainly, let's say, it makes a profit at the end of the year, said profit must be reinvested in the company and not divided between the, let's say, the owner and the other shareholders, let's say shareholders. On the other hand, a for-profit company will get the profit and most likely will be will be shared among its shareholders or its owner. So then we can also say that uh, there are two types of businesses, private and public. Now, the private ones are the ones that are like composing the 90% of the total amount of companies that are in the world. Because private companies are the ones that are like everybody can make it. On the other hand, and mainly these companies are pursuing a profit uh, objective. There are also other companies, public ones, which are owned by the government, state, and region, and they are carried out in mainly to providing a benefit to the people. So, for example, there are private hospitals and there are public hospitals. So then the public hospitals, even though we go there, like we don't pay as much as the private one. Or for example, the bus service, mainly these are public, but in some countries it's also private, but the public ones are much like less expensive compared to the private ones, or even the train service. In some countries it is both public and private, but mainly the public ones are less expensive compared to the private ones, and so on. So the main difference in this case is that one, the private pursues an objective of like mainly getting a profit. On the other hand, the public one pursues an object of providing a benefit to the people, to the community. And it can also be said that the public ones, even though they have a deficit between income and outgoings, still it's kind of okay because the government will be there like backing them. So then the government will be able to make sure that it has at least the income will be equal to the outgoings. So this is uh, a brief organization table, like from where you can see that it's possible to see the private sector and the public sector. Now here we have in the private sector like sole proprietorship, partnerships, incorporated companies, and so on. So even in this sense, we can also discuss about private limited and companies like that, which you can it's like private, public, and so on. That can be that shares can be bought from the market. On the other hand, public companies are mainly owned by the um, public sector companies. As I said, like a hospital or a bus company, public bus company, and so on. They are like 100% most of the time owned by the government or by anyway a central authority. So that is the main difference. Now, before concluding, we can also discuss about the types of businesses in in a size way. So we, the of course there are businesses. All businesses starts, let's say 99% of the businesses start small and then they grow up to a certain level. For example, it is not possible to compare the small local grocery shop and the big multinational company. It's not doesn't make much sense. But it is possible to say that both companies have started from almost the same beginning, had the same beginning. So also in that case, it is possible to say that both these two types of companies um, have a different level of responsibility, a social responsibility. In the sense to say, a small grocery shop, a local grocery shop, will not have as much as a burden compared to a big multinational company, because of course it's limited to that local area and the number of like employees and the revenue that it gets. It's not possible to compare it to a large multinational company. So in that sense, the weight of a multinational conglomerate is much higher compared to a small family company, for example. So then the key takeaway points are in this first video what is a business? So we have discussed about what is a business, the difference between for-profit and non-profit organizations. Then we have spoken also about, just briefly actually, about sole proprietorship, corporation participation, and so on. For that, it's better to have a separate video because it is possible to give like brief points for each type of business or form of business, because actually it differs from country to country. So then each country will not have the same legislation. So it's better to give it uh, a, a wide definition rather than a specific one. And then finally, we spoke about forms of businesses in terms of size. So the small one, the small grocery shop, and the multinational conglomerate. So yeah, I believe that this is okay for the first video. And if you have any comments, please feel free to write them in the chat in the comment section below, and I will be able to read them and answer you all. And if you like the video, please subscribe for more of these contents for the future videos as well. Drop a like button if you can. If you like the video, please, as I said, drop a like button. And yeah, with that being said, thank you for listening.